Before we begin, I just want to thank you for the support. We're close to 4,000 subscribers and every one of you keeps this channel alive. If these stories speak to you, please consider subscribing. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, it truly means a lot. She left her laptop open, and I remember standing there frozen, staring at the messages that flickered across the screen like they were daring me to keep reading. In that moment, something inside me went silent. Not broken, just done. No yelling, no shaking hands, just a cold clarity settling over me as I scrolled through every line, confirming the fears I'd tried to bury for months. But it wasn't just cheating. It was the way she spoke about me, the way she laughed, the way she thought I'd never know. If I had closed the laptop right then, everything would have stayed hidden. But I didn't, and that decision changed everything. And I had no idea how deep the betrayal truly went. I met my wife at a time when everything in my life felt unsettled, and she walked in like some kind of anchor. She had this calm energy that made me believe I could finally stop running from the chaos I'd grown used to. In the beginning, we were inseparable, building late-night plans about the future, sketching out the kind of life we thought only other people managed to have. When we married and bought our home, it felt like proof that stability was finally mine. I supported her career without hesitation, late hours, conferences, sudden opportunities, because I trusted her completely. I put aside my own goals more than once, convincing myself partnership meant sacrifice, even when the scales started tipping quietly in her favor. Still, I held on to the belief that loyalty eventually balanced everything. But the warmth we built slowly cooled, replaced by excuses I didn't want to examine too closely. Looking back, I realized the beginning was the only part of our story that ever felt simple. And yet, even as the distance grew, I kept telling myself it was just a phase. Something every couple eventually works through, never imagining what waited beneath the surface there. I started noticing the shift in small, almost forgettable moments. She began staying late for projects that never seemed to end, coming home with that distant look that made me feel like I was interrupting something. Her phone, once left anywhere, was now glued to her hand, screen always turned face down, protected by a new password she brushed off as a security update. She took unexpected work trips, one she explained, and when I asked simple questions, her patience vanished. She'd snap, accuse me of nagging, then retreat into silence. At first, I turned the blame inward. Maybe I'd been too absorbed in my own workload. Maybe she was stressed, tired. But then the inconsistencies started piling up in a way I couldn't ignore. A perfume I didn't recognize still lingering on her clothes. New lingerie she never once wore for me. A coworker's name slipping into conversations casually, often. None of it added up, yet she acted offended whenever I tried to understand what was changing between us. I wasn't looking for proof, but it kept finding me. That night she rushed out for a quick meeting, barely kissing my cheek before grabbing her bag and disappearing out the door. She left her laptop open on the dining table, something she never did, but I didn't think anything of it until a notification blinked in the corner of the screen. I wasn't snooping. I didn't even touch the trackpad at first. But the preview alone, his name, her reply, the tone froze me in place. My hand moved before my mind did. And suddenly the chat was open. Messages spilled down the screen faster than I could absorb them. Explicit jokes, travel plans, photos I had never seen, screenshots of conversations we'd had in confidence twisted into entertainment. They complained about me like I was some clueless inconvenience. He actually called me clueless. And she laughed. That laugh hurt more than anything they wrote. I didn't react. I didn't shout or slam the lid shut. I just stood there, letting the truth rearrange everything I thought I knew. No excuses. No room for misunderstanding. Just betrayal laid out line by line. By the time she came home, I wasn't her husband anymore. I was a man preparing for war inside. I spent the rest of that night gathering everything I could before she came home. I copied screenshots, downloaded entire folders, and found hidden documents buried in places she must have assumed I'd never look. Her cloud backup betrayed her more efficiently than I ever could. Hotel bookings, charges for gifts I never received, weekends she claimed to spend with her sister, all laid out in cold numbers and timestamps. The man she'd thrown our marriage away for wasn't a mystery anymore. He was a married coworker, someone she'd sworn was barely more than a colleague. But instead of confronting her, I shut down every emotion and turned methodical. The next morning I met with a lawyer. That afternoon, I contacted his wife and shared everything. Quietly, I opened separate bank accounts, paused our joint cards, and began shifting the house documents into safer territory. She had no idea the ground beneath her was already cracking. I wasn't planning revenge, just the truth. But the truth alone was enough to burn everything down. And the more I uncovered, the clearer it became that the destruction she started would return to her in ways she never expected, quietly, inevitably, without a warning. When I finally confronted her, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look angry. I simply placed the stack of printed messages on the table and watched the color drain from her face. At first she tried denial, stumbling over excuses that collapsed the second she read her own words. Then came the rage, accusing me of invading her privacy, of twisting things, of not understanding. When that didn't work, she shifted to bargaining, promising to fix everything, begging me to talk it through. But the moment she realized I had already spoken to her lover's wife, everything inside her seemed to fall apart. She understood the consequences waiting outside our walls. HR would be involved, his marriage was already imploding, and their little secret wasn't secret anymore. She cried then, loud, desperate, saying she'd made a mistake, that she never meant to hurt me. I felt nothing. I just told her, "You ended this marriage long before I did." Then I walked away, calm and already detached, leaving her alone with the wreckage she spent months creating. It was done. Weeks later, I found myself settling into a new apartment, surrounded by a kind of quiet I hadn't felt in years. No tension, no guessing, just space to breathe again. Betrayal didn't break me the way I once feared it would. It revealed who I was when everything comfortable fell apart. And in that clarity, I realized staying calm had given me more strength than any explosion of anger ever could. I rebuilt my routines piece by piece, relearning what peace felt like without someone constantly shifting the ground under me. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it frees you from the wrong person. And if my story proves anything, it's that rising stronger is always possible.